Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. All those princesses were large in different apartments, and the Lord simultaneously assumed different bodily expansions exactly matching each and every princess, accepted their hands in perfect rituals by His internal potency. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita 533, the Lord is described as follows in regard to His innumerable plenary expansions. Advaitam achyutam anadiman antarupam adyam paranam purusham naviyovanam cha vedeshu durlabam adurlabam atmabhakto govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. The Lord Govinda, whom I worship, is the original personality of Godhead. He is non-different from His innumerable plenary expansions, are all infallible, original and unlimited, and who have eternal forms. Although He is primeval, the oldest personality, He is always fresh and young. By His internal potency, the Lord can expand Himself into various personalities, as Swayam Prakash, and again into Prabhava and Vaibhava forms. And all of them are different, non-different from one another. The forms into which the Lord expanded to marry the princesses in different apartments were all slightly different, just to match each and every one of them. They are called Vaibhava Vilas, forms of the Lord, and are affected by His internal potency, Yogamaya. So the text again, Asam Muhurta Ekasmin Nana Garishu Yoshidam Savidam Jagrihe Panin Anurupa Swamaya. All those princesses were lodged in different apartments, and the Lord simultaneously assumed different bodily expansions, exactly matching each and every princess. He accepted their hands in perfect rituals by His internal potency. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Bacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadya Desadharana. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and His different incarnations are speaking different verses. Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, He's always in the spiritual world with His cowherd boyfriends and cows and His cowherd girls and His parents. He never takes a step out of Vrindavan. And the question might be, well, who are all these other persons who are speaking the Bhagavad Gita? These, just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarvabhutani Kundya. Do we have Bhagavad Gita actually? Sarvabhutani Kundya Prakriti Yanti Mamikam Kapashe Panaspatani Kapado Vishvijamiham Puttagramam Saevayam Bhutva Praliyate Radriyagame Praliyante Tadraiva Vyaktik Sambhike. That Sarvabhutani Kundya Prakriti Yanti Mamikam. That at a certain time, which is beyond time, everything is created, everything is sent forth. So we're in the creation part right now, at least the manifested part. We probably don't remember the unmanifested part because we're asleep during that part. So for 311 trillion, approximately 40 billion years, everything is manifested. Sarvabhutani Kundya Prakriti Yanti Mamikam. The material nature comes forth and everything becomes visible, experienceable, we could say, for the soul. The soul partially wakes up and gets the opportunity to experience the material energy. Prakriti Yanti Mamikam. Kapashaye, but at the end of the creation, Punastani again, everything enters into Krishna's nature. Now one may wonder what kind of person is creating everything, giving everyone this great opportunity to enjoy in the material world and perhaps become God. And then as soon as everyone gets super enthusiastic, thinking that finally we're going to get the chance to solve all the problems, everything gets annihilated. And we're back again asleep. The only thing we take with us is all the karma that we've accrued in our last lifetimes. So what kind of person is doing this? Creating, and as Krishna says in the next verse after that, which we'll find here. Oh, it's not the chapter. Prakritim swam avashtabhya vishtrijami punak punak buddhagramam imam kritsnam avasham prakritira vasha. The whole cosmic order is under me. In other words, Krishna is admitting here that he's the one behind everything. Everything is going on by his will alone. Under my will it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will it is annihilated at the end. So Krishna creates everything, everyone is very enthusiastic, everyone comes out in the material world. This time I'm going to enjoy, I'm going to have a good time. I've learned so much since I've been here, since time immemorial. This time I can't fail. They attain some position, even the position of Lord Brahma, and then suddenly everything gets annihilated and we're back at square one. There's a mythology called Sisyphus. Sisyphus was cursed. I guess he's a Roman god. He was cursed to remain in a hole. And his job was to push this rock up to the hole, to the top of the hole, and try to get it out of the hole. But every time the rock would just get barely to the end of the hole, it would fall back again. And it'd start all over again, pushing the rock up. To finally get almost there, it was just, and then fall back again. And this goes on eternally. So, if anyone here is feeling a little frustrated, as if we're doing the same thing over and over again, imagine if you were Sisyphus, having to push that rock eternally up to the top of the hole and have it fall down again. So this is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Well, actually, Matirana Krishna, I guess that's it. Mithtiram Krishna parataksadhova vitobi padyeda grihavratanam adanta gobir vishitam tamizram punak punas charvata charvananam. So Matira means our consciousness. So that's what we have in the material world, is our consciousness. Of course, we have ourselves eternally. We're never going to lose ourselves. Even when we get lost in the material world, we're still there. But what we're aware of things is through our consciousness. And our consciousness is going beep, beep, there's something wrong here. That's if you're a human being, then you realize there might be something wrong. The animals, they feel something's wrong. Therefore when the birds try to eat something, there's a little grain there and they're looking back and forth, trying to make sure no one's going to come and eat them while they're eating something. So the birds are quite concerned, even the lions are concerned, no one's going to come and eat their cubs or something. Everyone is concerned in the material world, and everyone's trying to solve problems, because the material world means problems. Now the real problem is that we're growing old. You may not believe me, but listen to the class in 20 years from now, and it'll become a little clearer that this body is growing older. But we ourselves within the body, we're not actually growing older, we're eternal. So we don't like growing older because we feel ourselves to be eternal, but what we're identifying is temporary, so it's quite confusing to us. Why is it that I'm growing older? I feel I'm the same person, and yet everything's changing all the time. So that's one of the problems, growing old. And then, of course, everyone is diseased. That's why we find everyone in a different posture here. Because our bodies are not very comfortable. And finally, there is death. Now everyone goes, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. But no one sings usually, unless you're quite in the mode of ignorance, happy death day to you, happy death day to you. Because death is not very pleasing to most people, because it means losing everything we have and starting somewhere, going somewhere else. We don't know where we're going. If someone came in here, they were all dressed in black, even their faces were covered black, and they grabbed you and said, come with me. What would you think? Sure, let's go for a ride. No. Probably you think, where are you taking me? Where am I going? We'd be curious, where am I actually going? But people aren't even curious, what's going to happen at the end of this body? Although, how much time longer will we be in this body? And how much more time will we have to spend in some other place? We'll be in this body for 10, 20, 50 more years, and then unlimited time, eternal time, we'll have to be somewhere else. But people are very much concerned what's happening in this body, and they're not concerned where they're going next, because it's like a rabbit. When the rabbit's cornered by its enemy, it closes its eyes and says, he's not there, it's not there, it just went away because I closed my eyes. Or we have the case of an ostrich. Ostrich has this huge body and this little tiny head. And when it gets attacked by an animal, it has a little hole it puts its head in and thinks, now I'm safe. Similarly, we have to go somewhere after the end of this body. People may believe that they disappear. Everything is void, they disappear after this body. Or sometimes even people say that I don't care where I go after this body. Just like when Srila Prabhupada was giving a lecture at a university, and he said if you act like a dog, then you become a dog. And if you act like a cat, you'll become a cat. So at the end of the lecture, one lady raised her hand and said, Swamiji, you say that if I act like a cat, I'll become a cat. If I act like a dog, I'll become a dog. But I want you to know, Swamiji, I don't care if I become a dog. As a matter of fact, I want to become a dog. So Prabhupada raised his hand and said, you have my blessings. So if someone had a magic wand, they say, I'm going to tap you on the head and you'll become a dog. Say, yeah, wow, bow wow, do it. No, we'd be afraid. What kind of dog am I going to become? Where am I going to live? You'll become a street dog. No, stop. If you're going to make me a dog, at least in the house of a wealthy person, with my own bowl to eat from. So, but people aren't thinking. They've denied the fact that there's a next lifetime. Although, even in this body, they're going from one existence to the next, and yet still they're the same. But because our intelligence has been taken away by illusion, we don't realize that we're eternal, and that we have to face one situation after another. Now Krishna says, in his defense, that he's created this world which is temporary and unstable and full of misery, etc., etc. So, is he to blame? Are we thinking, oh, Krishna, doesn't he have a heart? That there's this little baby, it's so innocent and cute, and now the destruction of the universe is coming, and Krishna doesn't say, wait, at least I'll spare this little baby. No, the whole thing gets annihilated. Everything gets annihilated. Everything winds up back in Mahavishnu's body until the next creation. So what kind of heartless person is this that creates everything and then destroys it without any consideration of anyone's feelings? So Krishna says, Chamatani karmani nivanandi dhananjaya udasinadvarasina masaktam teshu karmasu. That all this work cannot bind me, I'm ever detached, seated as though neutral. So Krishna is just like the judge. The judge someone may come before the judge, and the judge says you're condemned to death. Because of the evidence presented before him, he makes a decision based on the evidence and impartially condemns the person to death. Another person comes and he awards him a huge amount of money because of the evidence before him. Otherwise, the judge is neutral. He's not making a partial decision. Someone comes before him and says, I condemn you to death because I don't like your face. No, there's a reason. Based on the person's own activities, the person gets a result. Similarly, Krishna is seated in the material world as the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and he's making all the arrangements neutrally according to the person's activities and desires, not according to his personal desires. Maya dakshena prakriti siyate sacharacharam hetunanena kundiya jagatvi parivardhate. That this material nature is working under my direction, producing all moving and non-moving beings, and by its rule, the rule of the material nature, this creation is manifested and destroyed, annihilated again and again. So Krishna, he sets up the material nature in such a way as to encourage living entities to go back to the spiritual world, or to give them the opportunity to dream that there is something other than they are something other or someone other than Krishna's eternal servant. Krishna gives all opportunities to the souls who want to forget him. So here in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking as Paramatma, as well as his expansions of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and Mahavishnu and Paramatma, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So here Krishna is not speaking as Krishna playing on a flute in Vrindavan, attracting the gopis and cowherd boys. It's not that Krishna is so sweet that everyone, even the lakes, the trees, the flowers, everything is in love with Krishna in Vrindavan. And then he sneaks away and he comes and annihilates everything in the material world because he just had a bad day. No, Krishna is eternally sweet and lovable. He never changes his mentality or his personality. And even when he expands as Mahavishnu for the creation and annihilation of these universes, it's still with the same sweetness for the well-being of the condition of the souls within this material world. Krishna never changes his feelings of love towards the living entity, but the living entity turns away from him, and therefore Krishna makes the arrangement to fulfill their desires and hopefully that they can learn something. So again, the analogy is there of the judge. The judge is in the courtroom bench. He wears a certain uniform. He has a certain name that everyone calls him. Your Honor, the judge. And he has certain activities. He's awarding and condemning, penalizing. That's his duty as the judge. But when he goes home at night, he takes off his judge's uniform. And when he gets home, his wife and children bring him slippers, and they call him John. And John plays with his children, and he helps his wife cook, and he dances with his wife, etc. Now he's the same person. He has a different name. He has a different uniform. He has different activities, but still he's the same person. But he's just manifesting appropriately his activities according to the time, place, and who he's dealing with. So similarly, Krishna, he has to deal with so many different living entities, and therefore he manifests himself exactly according to the desires of the souls that he's dealing with. Even in our heart, Krishna fulfills everyone's desires individually, for that reason, everyone has a different body. In the spiritual world, everyone has a spiritual body, and even when we have a spiritual body, Krishna reciprocates with his devotees accordingly. And not only according to the different rasas, but as explained here, even personally, in the same rasa, according to the individual desires of the soul. In Dwarka, there are 16,108 queens, and they're all in the mood of Madhurya Rasa as a princess to a king, but they're individuals. They're not merged they're not this one princess role, and everyone has to play the role the same way. Everyone cooks at the same time, dresses the same way, says the same thing to Krishna. It's not like that. Everything is individual. Everyone has a personal, individual way of manifesting that Madhurya Rasa with Krishna as a married wife to a king. And Krishna reciprocates perfectly with every wife. Therefore, when Narada Muni went to visit the palaces in Dwarka, he entered into the first palace where Rukmini there was sitting on the bedstead with Krishna, and Krishna came off the bedstead and put Narada Muni there and washed his feet. Rukmini fanned him and then offered him a cow and nice prasadam, and then Krishna said, "So nice you come here to purify my palace." And then Narada Muni left, went into another palace, and there Krishna was doing consultations with Uddhava about protecting the kingdom. And then he went to another palace, and he saw Krishna playing with his children. So it was all individual, personal. Just like we can talk to Krishna, not everyone tells Krishna the same thing, because it's all a personal relation with Krishna. And Krishna will reciprocate with us personally, not only now, but also when we become liberated. Everything will be eternally personal, individual, and at least in the spiritual world, spontaneous, loving relation with Krishna, rather than here in the material world, asking Krishna to help us forget him. And sometimes asking him to help us remember him, depending upon our understanding of things. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Therefore, when we see just one last thing, when we see the material world here, we should understand nothing is happening without supreme justice. Krishna arranges everything perfectly, not only according to people's desires, because that's not possible. We may desire to fly in this room right now, but we don't have the adhikari, we don't have the merit. Therefore, we have to sit here. We can flap our arms, won't do us very much good, because we just don't have the merit to fly. But if we really want to fly, then Krishna will give us the intelligence that we can examine birds and other living entities that can fly, and then we can build a machine that helps us fly, as if flying makes any real difference in our... Anyhow, we may want to fly. And if we really want to fly, if we actually spend our life watching birds, in our next lifetime, Krishna will give us the body of a bird, and we can fly around. We don't have to flap our hands, we can flap our wings. So there's no injustice. Everyone's getting exactly what they deserve at every moment. But it may not be what we always like. But if we don't like it, it's just meant to, from the material point of view, encourage us not to stay in this material world, endlessly desire different material arrangements, but to recognize our real shelter is in Krishna, and desire that Krishna make the arrangement that we're with him in the spiritual world, where all the activities are always blissful and loving and eternal. And all these problems in the material world don't exist there. the problem of forgetting Krishna and desiring in the wrong way. So, anything? Okay, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.